Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
You sound good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, back at home. I've been home since December 6th. Yeah,
How's
the
that been?
rehab continues.
How's it been being home?
It's been good. Just when I was getting good at living in the hospital, they said get out. They said get out, go home, and I had to relearn how to live at home. So now here I am at home. Doing pretty good now, figuring it out, and yeah, it's all good.
Are
It's good.
you
It's better to be home than in the hospital for sure.
are you working?
No, no, not working.
What did you do before you were in the hospital?
So I'm an attorney by profession. Um, so I have my own law firm, my own law practice. Um, so there's that. But I mean, I do a lot of different things. I own and run a family farm. Um, I have a part-time gig at UPS. I do a lot of different stuff.
How long are you out of work for?
I don't know when I'll go back. I'm not functional enough now to go back and do like UPS or something. I can't do that. So as soon as I can, I'll go back. Um, you know, I don't know when that will be. I'm just starting to walk. Can't really lift objects or anything right now.
Sorry, you cut out for a second. You said you're just starting to walk again.
Yeah, I'm just starting to walk again with a walking cane. It's like a walking stick. So I'm not walking independently right now. Um, but when I can walk independently and pick up objects and put down objects, then I'll be able to go back to. I'll be able to at least do UPS,
Okay.
you know, and then I'll start slowly bringing back the law practice, you know. So I don't know. I mean, so it's January now. If I can get back to work by spring, I'd be happy.
And so you had your accident was September of
In September, yeah,
2019.
that's right.
I'm recording, by the way. Is that cool?
Yes.
Yeah. So I reached out to you because I wanted to hear about your experience going back to the gym, and I wanted to hear about your recovery. However, that was what 3 days ago. However, in the meantime, I just got a message um, from the UK. And this came in at 2 o'clock in the morning here in Milwaukee, and he said a teammate of mine had a stroke last night after training. Any info that might help his chances? I think the doctors don't hold much hope. And the conversation I went back and forth with him on, he said he said I think they tested his brain. They tested him this afternoon, and he has no brain function.
Oh,
So he asked me. He said, Do you know any cases like this where they kept the machine on and was able to do something?" Um, because his fear was, they might be switching off the machine. And he said, he basically was like, not sure. He wasn't really sure. The guy collapsed during training. Um, and it says he just kept, what he was pulling for information from me was, did I have another example of a condition where they pulled through, um, and maybe it's enough to try a bit longer. And um, I in my research so
Questions for
in,
Chris?
in, in, in my research so far with the 80 cases or so that Josh and I have compiled, um, we have found a few deaths, and some people, yours was pretty bad, Jason. And did they? I'm just trying to get a comparison. When were they were getting brain function from you, correct?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yes.
So this
Yeah.
this case in the UK sounds pretty scary.
It definitely does. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that happened. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that specifically, other than to say that a lot of what the doctors did tell me at one point did not turn out to pan out to be true. Now, whether that translates to this new case, I don't know. I mean, they did tell me that it would be unlikely that I would ever use my left leg or left arm again. But I'm moving them now, so I mean, it's a different situation, it's a different case.
Yeah.
But it's just an example of something that they said that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say
I
about
don't need. I don't. I don't either, and that's why. I said, look, maybe I'll reach out to some people in the community and see, what they have to say. But yeah, it sounds, it doesn't sound good. Um, so
It's really too bad. It's too
I,
bad to hear that.
part of the whole reason I do these interviews to spread awareness as well is, so something like in my mind it was it's so we could prevent things like that happening. Now we don't know yet, what the details are, obviously, um, but the 80 cases that we have or so, I think about maybe 70 or 80% of them, maybe more, were the strokes were from the artery dissections of either the vertebral or the carotids. Some of these interviews that I'm doing, they don't have a sign of dissection, but we don't know for sure. What type of diagnosis, what type of scans they did and whatnot. So we're gathering that information right now. So the news that I have for you is that we are working with some emergency medical doctors to get these cases published. The reason that the cases would include myself, Josh's story, and hopefully, all of this people, like all of us, I'm hoping you and everybody is able to allow for the doctors to have access to our information so that they can take that information and um, put it out there so that other doctors can collaborate and look at the information, because a lot of what I'm seeing is misdiagnosis of many of these patients. And the problem with the misdiagnosis is that when it's missed, then it's causing the stroke, and there's some damage, obviously, that happens when you have a stroke if they can be prevented, obviously. That's one reason we're doing the research paper. So we're creating a study group, and the study group is basically all of us. So that's news and information. Part of the project as well that Josh and I have been working on is just creating more awareness for this whole project as well. And so somebody reached out and they brought the suggestion that we do a documentary on this. And that's something that we're in the process of putting together a team, and we have some creative ideas where we can put together something, because we think, if you ask me, like, we got to spread the word fast. Like, my Medium posts aren't getting around, as fast as they need to. My YouTube videos aren't getting around. Like, I'm only getting like out of all of my stories, yours was the one that just tipped the hammer almost. Like, I was getting like 200 views on my videos, And then when yours came out, Jason, like boom, I think that like I think we're well over a couple thousand, people have viewed it, and it's got a ton of comments. A guy yesterday, Jason, if you reference it, go reference that video, read through all the comments. And yesterday, the gentleman told me that, he's the guy just like you. He's like, I'm just like that guy. I fought out of everything until my face turns red and the veins are popping out of my. And he said, and then somebody told me to go look this up on the internet. He found the video, he watched your video, and that tells me that we're making baby steps, which is great.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So there, I did have another gentleman who just left the hospital. They think potentially he had a TIA, and he said that if it wasn't for my videos, he would have never went to get to the treatment, and he think it could have been worse. So, like I said, like baby steps, but I think that we have enough people now, and we have the doctors involved that they want to learn more, and the only way for us to get the word out in a fast manner would be a documentary.
Yeah.
So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing, just the general information on this inside the group, and giving people just kind of a heads up to say, hey, this is what we're doing with the hospitals. This is what they're going to be doing with the data. This is why we think it's going to be beneficial for the medical community and for the jiu-jitsu community, and to get our message out in the strongest possible way and to bring awareness to the cause. We want to put together this documentary, and we want everybody to be involved in the project. So that's what I've been working on for the last 3 weeks, and it's just ironic. It's like, you get texts like that at 2 o'clock in the morning from the UK because they found your video. Today. It's I don't know what's going to happen with that person, but that was like my worst case scenario. Like in my mind, like I was hoping that we wouldn't have somebody have to pass away from a brain stroke, from getting choked. Maybe we don't, like I said, we don't know yet. It could have been like a heart problem that shot a clot to the brain, but who knows what the reports are going to say. But if that could have been prevented, this and really the question that comes up to me all the time, Jason, is like, why haven't we heard more about this? And honestly, dude, jiu-jitsu is growing so fast, and so many more people are doing it. And this there in Wisconsin, there was like in 2005, 2004, 2008, which was only 12 years ago or whatever, 13, 14, there was only a handful of people that were doing jiu-jitsu. Now, if you look at the growth here in Wisconsin, there used to be one school. Of course, there's always start one, but now there's like, 50 schools here, you know what I mean? So there's more people practicing. So there definitely is going to probably be a correlation with the amount practicing versus, why is it happening? Why are we just hearing about it? Well, because people are just starting jiu-jitsu. And I think, that's where I think it's time to step in and say, okay, guys, yeah, I know we didn't hear about this before, but this is affecting people's lives, and people have the right to be aware of it. I mean, Jason, see some of your texts and replies to messages, and it looks like chicken scrabble, and you're an attorney, and I can understand the frustration that you have because I have the same issue. I'm a Marquette degreed alum, have been writing papers for businesses. And now I look at some of my emails to my clients. Now I'm 2 years removed, and it looks like I had about 12 cocktails, when I sent out so I have to call these people and tell them, here's my story, what is coming, what I think is coming out on the other end of the keyboard is not it's not the same that's processing in my mind. Now, I will tell you that over the last few years it has gotten better. So you do have to keep practicing your writing and doing, life stuff. Just don't give up, because you have to get that function back in 2 years. But I mean, the good news is there's spell check. The good news is there's talk to text. And I think technology is only going to get better. So, I do my best to adapt, but it's definitely affected me from that perspective. I'm still competent I know what I'm talking about from my profession, because my trade is insurance and employee benefits. So I work with business owners um, and their employees, and I help with all the health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, all the intricate insurance, and a lot of it is communication. It's a lot of sending out emails. And when you're sending out emails, you are ripping out emails, meaning you're on the clock and you've got to get stuff done, and you have to get detailed information out to clients, and that has affected me, especially as a small entrepreneur. I left I left a firm. I started it. I started right out of college in the insurance, and I had a firm that I grew with, had a staff and everything, and then had to go and decided to start my own firm. And then a year later, when you start your own firm, you're basically doing it yourself. And then a year later, I had my stroke. So it's just like, holy Christ, did that thing set me back in many ways. But over time, I've taken the last few years to heal, find new teams to support me and whatnot. So it's like, I'm growing back. Everything is coming back. You know what I mean? It's just not what it was before. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it is affecting people, and us guys. Most of the people who are doing jujitsu are guys like us who have families and lives, and it does affect your family, and 100%. And like I said, if somebody in the UK has permanent damage and we find out that it came from it's correlated to the stroke. I mean, or to the jiu-jitsu. We have to open up eyes here as a general community in jiu-jitsu and say, okay, let's put our egos aside and let's talk about what we need to be aware of. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate all the work you're doing to bring awareness. I think we have to bring awareness to the jiu-jitsu community, and there's going to have to be another step, which is, okay, once people are aware of this, well, how can we change our practice so that this isn't happening, on the mats? There's got to be a way that people can still practice jiu-jitsu without having strokes on the mat. There's
Yeah.
got to be a way.
Yeah.
And maybe it's people that are more experienced than us or smarter than us in terms of jiu-jitsu, but these guys, the instructors, the school owners, they've got to know there's got to be a way to adjust the practice so that this isn't happening. So hopefully we'll get a therapy and things can change.
Your instructor, what's his name again? His name is Jay too. Jay
Bell. Yeah.
Jay Bell.
Yeah.
I know that you were back over there, wanting to hear your experience on that, and wanted to hear, if has Jay mentioned anything? Has he changed some of his practices up that you're aware of?
Well, Jay Bell visited me when I was in the hospital. Those guys have been great through the time I was in the hospital and coming back to the mats. They've been great. He did say to me that they were adjusting their practices, at least in some respect, with the chokes. I'm not exactly sure the exact policy on what they're doing, but I heard they were adjusting something with the chokes. And obviously, the next time I see him, hopefully I'll learn more about that.
How did it feel to go back over there?
Well, it was great. I mean, really, I looked at it as an opportunity to get down on the floor. I haven't been on the floor much since my stroke, so this was a great opportunity. Obviously, beautiful jiu-jitsu mats are a great place to get down.
Yep.
Super comfortable compared to just a hard floor. So to get down and just roll around and stretch was great for my body, which hadn't done that in months. And I really needed to do that. So that's really what I was hoping to do, and I got to do that. So it felt really great to do that. I didn't get a lot of jiu-jitsu in per se. I can't roll. My body's not responding at all. So I really can't do. Well, let me take that back. My wife, for the first time since I started training,
attacked you the other day.
So we did some techniques from closed guard, and it was
That's
that
cool.
went well. So it took me having a stroke and basically almost dying to get her on the mats to do that with me. But I think she liked it and she had a good time. But it was a very toned down session.
Yeah.
Just like technique, break the guard type of thing, pass the guard, and that was it. Yeah. It's gonna take me a while to get any movement back.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that sounds like good therapy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I just looking back at me coming back on the mat, and when I went back, like I was trying to run out of the hospital. Like I was in so much denial that something like this ever happened to me. So I almost, looking back at my own recovery, like I almost didn't give myself, the time I needed to heal. I was so wanted to get back out and in the public, but at the same time, um, I did have clearance from the doctor to go and do my day to day, and they said that part of just getting out there and doing the day to day would potentially help recover, because everybody says like you just never know how people are going to bounce back after these things. And just teaching helped me with my speech, being able to explain to people at least um, what to do with your left hand, right hand. But even now today, when I coach, like in the middle of coaching, I'll figure out I'll forget what a body part is called, and my students, I'm like, and that's called the shin, they'll say, or hand. I'm like, yeah, my right hand. I mean, that's how the mind. It's goofy, man. Some days it works, and some days it doesn't. Um, but being out there and moving, and just even if like you said, are hanging out at home with Kate, you've got her in the closed guard, and you're just going through the foot on the hip arm bars, nice, and getting that movement. I believe that that's got a huge benefit to the brain. When my biggest problem after the stroke from a physical standpoint was my hand strength in my right hand, and working the gi and having to grab gis and collars, I do believe helped with that. And now it's kind of, I still have I don't have the same feeling in my right hand as my left hand. But when you're choking for somebody from behind, it creates a rock solid grip on that gi lapel that they can't break. So, because you don't feel they're attacking your hand, you just don't feel it. So that's a benefit in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, man, the whole choke game too. It's got me pretty. You still got to play, and chokes are still a huge part of this thing. You know what I mean? Like there's guys in my academy. When we do the back take stuff, it's I tell people, I'm like, listen, if somebody gets the grip on you on that lapel, you're pretty much that overhand grip on the lapel. I'm like, I'm like, you're pretty much dead. So it's almost at that point where you just, once they get, if it's almost like you've got to fight for the grip just to make sure they don't control the lapel um, to survive. And if they do get it, like in my mind too, I'm close to death, is what I think. So the minute somebody starts to cinch that choke, I pretty much need to probably tap out, which I am doing. I've definitely changed my methods. I'm not as hard on myself for tapping out anymore. I used to beat myself up for getting caught, you know what I mean? And I don't do that anymore for sure. So, but yeah, I think that's great to hear that you're, yeah, at least you went back. It felt good. You got to see your friends. You got your wife training with you is pretty cool. And from when we spoke last time, you sound way better. Like you're totally different. Um, you probably have that. You probably have that. Like me. Like everybody's like, oh, I couldn't even tell that you had a stroke. You probably can tell, but other people can't. But I couldn't. Like no speech issues. You're not. You don't seem slow. You know what I mean? Totally different. So good to see your recovery. And it looks like you're gonna it's taking you a little bit longer because we're September, October, November, December, January. So probably about 5 to 6 month recovery. But it's recovery, and recovery is better than non-recovery, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. Everybody's different. But yeah, man, I'm happy to hear that. And like I said, you look great.
Thanks, man. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for checking.
You got anything else? Jason? You down to do this documentary, get everybody together, and spread some awareness?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Chris. I've been holding the camera.
Cool.
I want him to talk so he can do it. He doesn't need me anymore. I'll just add one more thing because we were just at the neurologist. And the neurologist basically was like, yeah, you don't need me because what I do is figure out why people had strokes and then make sure they don't have another stroke. And we know why you had a stroke. Like so his prescription was, no more chokes. Yeah.
And what is he?
And that was it. So in a way, it was good to hear, because all the statistics on stroke are if you have one, you're likely to have another one.
Yeah.
So in a way, it was good to hear he's not likely to have another one.
Yeah.
But it basically he was saying it's definitive that carotid dissection from the choke is why this happened.
They didn't have to put a stent in his neck, huh?
They did. It's still blocked.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's how damaged it was. They put a stent in, but it didn't end up holding.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's still in there?
Yeah.
What side is it?
So, yeah, right side. Yeah. Right side.
So is it the left side that he has walks on the cane?
No, it's the same side.
Okay.
Yeah, you had asked that question once before, and I actually did look it up while I was reading through some of the medical documents.
Right on.
Yeah, it's the same side.
Okay.
I'm 90% sure. No, I'm 90% sure that the dissection was on the right side and it affected your right brain.
Dissection on the side. That's the left side. Left side.
Okay, I guess we don't know.
So same with me. Same. That's how it doesn't matter. But
well, we can look it up.
Yeah,
it will matter at some point. We should look it up so we have it.
When it happened to me,
the idea of a documentary is awesome.
Yeah.
Especially to solve the problem, not just of awareness, but of how are we moving forward with jiu-jitsu. I mean, it can't go away.
Yeah.
it's too good, you know.
Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, 80 cases. That's horrible. I think the last time we talked to you, you were up to almost 50. So
Yeah, no, that's
way too far.
that's it. Like I said, after Jason's video, things just everything changed with the awareness, because people started coming to me, calling me, and it was 100% because of that video. So, you know,
Yeah.
if that makes a difference, if there's a lot of, Jason, for you, I'm saying, is like there's a lot of purpose in this, in what, in this accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I found it interesting too, the people dotted around the country. Hopefully, the awareness is spreading a little more. You're in the Midwest. We're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Josh is on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure it is. And now other countries like UK, South Africa.
Oh wow.
There's I think Sweden. I think Josh said on the spreadsheet there's like 3 in Sweden.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now think about it. Most of those people speak English. So I haven't translated any of this stuff to Portuguese or any other.
Right. That's. Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's very true.
That's probably the next project, is to find somebody to jump on the team that can translate all of our videos and documents.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're doing great work. So
Thank you.
Let us know what we can do.
Yep,
and,
I will. Don't worry. I'm glad to hear. I wanted to hear, and just again follow up. Thank you, Jason. And you're a big part of this. So I wanted you to be able to speak today. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for including me.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely appreciate being included. And yeah, I mean, my thing is I love Jiu Jitsu, and I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to do it, and hopefully other people can as well.
Yeah, 100%. We will be able to modify the sport to make it, take the more positive benefits and mitigate the negative.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's good talking to you. Thanks again.
Yep.
Take care.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.